Brought to you by Friends of the British Council. Hey everybody, welcome back to Rugby Wrap Up. Matt McCarthy and Steve Lewis in the Fantasy Sports Network, Studio 34. We want to skip over to the other side of the globe in an unrelated segue and talk about Australia.
He gets 12 years suing a state, suing a country, and they take it away from a stupid lettering of the law. You see what it means to people?
The revolution is not an apple that falls when it's ripe. You have to make it fall.
Be the force that shakes the tree,
that turns the tide,
that rocks the boats, that rattles the cages,
that stands our ground,
that won't back down,
that changes the rules,
that breathes fresh air,
that takes on the world,
that shows no fear,
that sets the stage,
that answers the call,
that changes the game,
that unites us all.
On May the 4th, a new era in rugby kicks off in Perth. The World Series is happening.
I don't know if you're familiar with what's going on over in Australia with the Super Rugby and the Western Force being kicked out of the Super Rugby, and then the billionaire, Twiggy Forrest? I think his name is Andrew
Forrest,
Twiggy Forrest is putting up all that cash, changing some of the rules.
Yeah, so interesting game this last week. With the demise, or the Super Rugby demise of Western Force, they've been reconstituted by billionaire Andrew Forrest, known as a.k.a. Twiggy, who has funded his own tournament, the Indo Pacific tournament, and Western Force played in it. They had 19,000 people show up at this game. That's a pretty good return.
So 19,000.
Yep, great turnout. So this is going to be interesting to how this goes. More interestingly, they have instituted some changes to the laws, one of which is a power try.
Power try.
Which is a try that is originates in your own 22 and without any change in possession is scored at the far end under the post. I think you get 7 points. Also, they have
Did they do this?
Not sure about that. Also, they have a 1 minute rule from scrums, so they're trying to obviously reduce the amount of time setting scrums. So they allow a maximum of 1 minute prior or from a scrum being called to that. That to me is problematic, though. That means you could have teams mess around. Because what is the sanction? Is it the people putting in don't get it? Are they blamed for not setting it correctly? So I don't know how that one works. I need to watch that in more detail.
They're also doing the teams can do the line out before the other teams are ready. And I was talking to somebody about this. I said, so you already can do a quick line out. But then they're saying as long as in a regular line out, if your team is set, then you can do it. I don't know how much that's going to be an impact, but some interesting concepts. And 19,000 people to watch a rugby match in Australia. That wasn't the Wallabies.
Yeah, I mean, Australian rugby is in the air right now. I mean, the national team's not going well. Club competitions come back a wee bit, but they essentially are Super Rugby in their provinces are struggling. They're franchises. The decision to cut the Western Force was very controversial, and obviously people in that part of the country are rallying round and getting behind their team, and hopefully somewhere down the road there is some way for them to get back in the mainstream.
So with Andrew Twiggy Forrest, the question is, Steve, does the Australian Rugby Union see the forest despite the trees?
Very good, very good.
He's calling it the Indo-Pacific Rugby Championship, and it'll be interesting to see the impact that it has on Super Rugby. And, more rumors are coming out every day about teams leaving.
Other news across the water, not so far, European Championships, European Finals this weekend. So the big game, both games actually are in the Catalan, no, not the Catalan. The Basque.
Tragic mistake.
The Basque capital, Bilbao. Yes, very much Basque, not Catalan. It's going to get that correct. Which is interesting, playing the games in Spain, right? It's going to go well. They're going to sell out. But I think it's a good move on European competitions, spreading the wealth a wee bit.
Will there be a Romanian referee?
Won't matter so much if they will not stand to benefit by it. But anyway, the games. Leinster, who are going really, really, really well. are playing Racing 92, so that's the big game. Got to go with Leinster there. They're the form team, and while Racing have played well second half of the season, I don't think they've got the all-round firepower that our men from Dublin are showing.
And I'm gonna agree with you on that, my Celtic brother.
On the secondary game, which is the Challenge Cup game, the final there is between Cardiff, who obviously have an Eagles US connection with one of our Captain America's, Blaine Scully, playing for Cardiff. They are facing Gloucester. Now, both teams have had a good run of form in the second half of the year. Cardiff in particular, obviously they've got to this final. Probably going to go with Cardiff just on the basis of their most recent form.
I'm going to go with Cardiff because MLP, man of the people, Blaine Scully, is on that team. We spoke earlier in the week, and they're all fired up. I don't doubt that Gloucester is fired up, but 8 out of 10, I think, if I'm not mistaken, with victories in the last 10 games for Cardiff. So they're playing some good ball. Yeah,
and you've always got to take the leak-eating daffodil wearers over an English team.
And our editor is Johnny Lewis Films. He is Welsh, so there is no way we're not doing that.
So those are the two big stories, I think, from out with these borders.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, we are out of time. Matt McCarthy with Steve Lewis at the Fantasy Sports Network Studio 34 here in New York City, talking rugby and signing off.